Okay, let's go ahead. So we were into what direct and indirect taxes, little bit of difference between direct and indirect. Barabar hai? Right, Talia? One of the points which we missed in the earlier lecture was this. Direct taxes cannot be passed on to a different person or entity. That means what? See, pay attention. What were we discussing yesterday in direct tax? Is direct tax progressive or regressive? It is progressive. Higher the income, higher the tax. No income, no tax, like that. Hai? But the indirect taxes are kind of regressive. It is irrespective of your income earning capacity, you are liable at the same rate of tax. Right, Elio? That means, for example, pay attention now. If a person A, whoever, has earned the income, he cannot tell someone else, B, to pay the tax on his behalf. Isn't it? Can he pass on the burden to someone else? No. But in indirect taxes, check. The taxes are passed on, as the price of the tax is compensated by simply increasing the overall price of the goods or services. That means what? Now let us say if there is a person, okay, he's selling his goods at what? 100 rupees before taxes, okay, example, right? And if the tax rate is at what, bacho? 10%, example. How much will be collecting? Total now? Selling price is 100 before taxes, tax rate is 10%. So on 100 is 10 rupees is tax. He will collect totally how much? 110. Correct? What will he do of the 10? He will obviously pay that tax to the government, no bacho? Is it his own income? No. Correct? Eh? Now if tomorrow the government says no, not 10%, the tax rate is 15%. The tax rate is 15%. Pay attention now. But this person doesn't want to change his maximum retail price. Example, okay? This is just an example. That means the final price to be borne by a consumer or customer, he still wants to keep it at 110. His selling price before taxes was 100 earlier. Pay attention what I'm saying. His selling price before taxes in the earlier example was how much? 100. Correct? Eh? That means whatever his own output taxes, or not output taxes, his output, you can say amount, his selling price was 100, but now government is saying not 10%, it is 15%. He ideally should be selling at what, right? At what price? 115. 100 plus 15%. Correct, Atilia? But if at all he is saying no, I don't want to sell it at 115, I still want to sell it at 110. What will be the impact of that? Are we encroaching, or are we going to take some amount from his profits?
Yes.
I understand a little bit. Now how to do that? Pay attention now. How to arrive at the actual selling price before taxes? Pay attention what I'm saying. How to arrive at actual selling price before taxes? If I'm giving you the final price, I'm giving you the final price is what? 110. But the tax rate is 15%. What will you do is 110 divided by 115%. Check. What do you get? It will be obviously less than rupees 100. 90 how much? 90?
5.65.
Okay, fine. Right till here? Now, will he be happy with earning 95.65 or 100? Obviously 100. When you are saying you are increasing the tax rates, but you even don't want to sell, you don't want to change your MRP, that means obviously you are taking the share from his profits, from his own income, right? But is that, you can say, valid or proper? No. No person will do, no businessman will do that, isn't it? Why will he say, why should I earn less income? Simply then what will he do? Simply is going to charge at the higher rate only, no? He will have to increase his MRP. That means that burden of tax is passed on. Will he bear the burden of higher tax rates? Are you understanding? Will he himself bear the burden of higher tax rates? No. Then that means what is he doing? He is passing the burden on the consumer. Understood? That burden is passed on the consumer, end user, buyer. He is paying in fact higher taxes. Earlier, now again check from buyer's point of view. Earlier he was paying how much tax? 10 rupees, the buyer. But now he will pay how much tax? 15 rupees. That the burden is shifted on someone else. Understood earlier? So by simply increasing the overall price of the goods or services. Earlier the price was 110, now it will become 115. Are you understanding? Will the seller, will he pay the taxes from his own pocket? He is collecting the taxes from buyer. Understood earlier? Clear it? So income tax we consider as progressive tax because it is completely very much legal and valid and ethical that the person who is earning more, he will pay more tax. The person who is not earning income will pay no taxes or very low taxes. Right till here? But like I said, indirect taxes are very, very regressive in nature. Understood till here? Why? I gave you what example I said, which goods I gave you example of? Which good or goods? That even if that good is used in someone else and somewhere else, still same rate of tax is applicable. Diesel. Diesel used in luxury car or diesel used in trucks, again same rates of taxes are applicable. In fact, some of the ministry, that whatever ministry is handling this roads and transport and all of that, they had given a recommendation that for luxury cars, see now there is no way now that you can control that the diesel from a petrol pump or that pump is going in a luxury car or is it going in a truck. There is no way to control that. Even the government cannot tell the petrol pump owners that when the luxury car comes, you charge higher tax rates. And when a truck comes, you charge lower tax rate. Is it possible? It is not possible at all. There are maybe lakhs of petrol pumps or whatever pumps in India. It is not possible to monitor that. So that was one of the reasons that the ministry, whichever handles this all this road transport, they had said that now the diesel which will be used in luxury cars, it is ideally or ethically they should be charged higher tax rates. Understand everybody? Are you understanding earlier? They should be paying higher tax rates, isn't it? So what they proposed was, whenever the luxury cars itself is purchased, anybody is purchasing BMW, Audi, whatever of 50 lakhs and whatever, that time only you should levy on them 1% of a tax, 1% of luxury tax or call it as a diesel tax. That time itself, 1%. Are you understand till here? That means because even they are using diesel, which is being used in trucks also and luxury car, but there is always has to be a differentiation between your necessities and luxuries. That's why we don't see lots of taxation on food items, especially your agricultural produce. You'll never see tax on wheat, rice and all of these, milk also for that matter, eggs for that matter. You'll never see tax is levied by government. That is food. That is the basic necessity. Food, clothing and shelter, isn't it? Shelter is obviously, it is a capital asset. It becomes quite a big transaction. But at least clothing, even if you see clothing, again when we talk about, the government does very nice thing that if you are buying a mobile up to rupees 1000, the mobile itself is costing less than rupees 1000. Or if you are buying some, you can say clothing material which is costing less than rupees 500 or less than rupees 1000, there is very, very negligible or a very minute tax on the same. But if you are buying a mobile or a wearing item, clothing item which is pricing is itself is more than 1000, then there is a higher tax rate. I understand it here. That means depending on again necessity and luxury, the differentiation. But in diesel and some other items it is not possible. No? So that was one of the proposals. It is not yet executed or not yet implemented. But that you have to understand that goods, there has to be difference between necessity and luxury. But again, if such things happen that it is a necessity as well as it is also used as luxury, then again it is a problem. So again government has to come into picture and devise some plans for that. Yesterday I also gave you about example of restaurant. When the restaurant used to give you, provide you food in the restaurant itself, they are giving you service as well as goods. So again central government said okay, 40% is you can say food and 60% is service. Now again the same restaurant, you check the example now, the same restaurant which is giving service to the customers sitting in the restaurant. You can go, they will give you order, you can order, they will bring you food, everything, all of that. There is a kitchen, there is a waiter, everything, right? And the same restaurant has an outlet also at the another entry point. That is only for takeaways. Now you tell me, only in takeaways, what is happening? Is it only goods? There is no service as such. You are just ordering, in fact. The main component is what you just order, and then just take the food. You are buying food as such from that counter, isn't it? Or you will see some hotel mess or something, small canteens. You're just going there and buying. That means they're selling you mainly what goods only, and they're not giving you service. There is no service component. But when you buy from Zomato, Swiggy or something like that, what is there over there? Obviously, there is goods as well as now service, but you are paying to Zomato and Zomato, Swiggy, whatever. And then they're trying to only take the service fees. They have their own different arrangement with the restaurant owners. They are going to charge commission. That is something separate. But from your point of view, you are buying goods from restaurant and you're taking service from Zomato or Swiggy. Understanding? So all these things, how will they be taxed or not? That is what you have to understand also in syllabus. That perspective you should have. Understood here? Got it? Because these are obviously interesting transactions. Whenever in a restaurant you go and you see a bill, you can check the at least components. Food how much, alcohol how much, right? Service charge, how much, VAT is there or not, GST is there or not, that obviously you can check. I hope you are aware that earlier people used to get confused between service tax and service charge. Are you aware of this? Yes. Service tax is whose income? It is government's income. Service charge is whose income? Particular restaurant's income. Why they used to charge service charge? For providing services. So if you go to better or you can say luxury hotels, they say okay, we are charging you based on regular, you can say services and foods, but apart some kind of premium or it's a good hotel, they used to charge separate service charge. And that service charge amount used to go where? In pocket of the restaurants. And then what they used to do is practically speaking, what they should also do and they were doing, many of the restaurants, it used to go in a common pool. It used to go in a common pool. Now pay attention, when you're talking of premium hotels, good restaurants, the moment you approach the restaurant, outside the restaurant, what service do you get?
They ask me about
Okay, the reception, okay. Before that, valet. There is a security person. There are drivers who are going to take care of your, park the car somewhere. They are going to give you that, whatever that token and all, they are going to take care. They are going to drive your car for you. They are going to park somewhere. Then you have security obviously, then you have reception. There are so many people involved in just providing you food at your table. So many of them which we don't even see, no? Like if at all you don't have car, you're directly going in the restaurant. You're not taking the service of valet. If there is a big restaurant, there is a lift man sitting in the lift who is giving you that service. Kitchen people obviously do not see who are working behind the scene as such, isn't it? So what you should do is as such, that security person or valet person is also equally important compared to the person working in the kitchen, isn't it? So what restaurants used to do is pull that entire service charge amount, whatever they have collected in a common pool, and distribute it as per whatever salary of their own employees, isn't it? So restaurants used to collect from customers, and they obviously should give it as in obviously common sense. If they were charging service charge, what amount you were not giving voluntarily?
their service we were getting.
Something we do in restaurant, in normal restaurants, what we used to do? 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 100 rupees, maybe 10, 20 rupees as. So again, common sense, if the service or the restaurant is charging you service charge, common sense, we are not again going to pay them tips. But if at all, again, if you imagine of normal restaurants, whenever you're putting tips in that whatever bill they used to give you, that amount of tip used to go only to the person who is collecting it, isn't it? The waiter and all of that. That amount will never go to the kitchen persons, or they will never go to the security person. I understand till here. So instead of, in a way, removing the concept of tip, the restaurant used to charge service charge, so that it goes equally to all the employees. Understood till here? But service charge, the government has come up with a notification that service charge is completely voluntary. It is not. There is no law where restaurants can charge you service charge. Okay, it is completely voluntary. So whenever you get the bill, you can tell, I don't want to pay service charge. Then it is completely valid.
Sir, is the service charge taxable?
Yes, there is income. It is income. In fact, yes, there used to be service tax on service charge.
On service charges.
Yeah, obviously. There used to be. So that was tax, not tax on tax, it was tax on the charge. So food, all the taxes, service tax separate, VAT also separate. If you see the earlier bills, then service charge used to charge. And then again on service charge, we are charging service tax. It used to be that kind of complicated. I have worked in restaurant business also, as a client. If at all you have heard of E-Square over here.
Yes.
E-Square, that mall, that entire. We used to be internal auditors. It used to be very confusing bills over there. This tax on this also, then again exemption or you can say rebate from this particular item. It used to be very complicated. And then they had many restaurants over there. Then they had this movie business also over there. Then on the top floor they had this rooms also over there. So in one single commercial complex they had many, I think around 15 to 20 services. Laundry was a service. Then swimming pool or you can say gymnasium, that service they had. Then the customers want at times taxis or cab. So even that services we had. So there were lots of things to be we learned in service tax over there. So that is a kind of a very complex thing. But again, when you get the grip, so that is the reason I'm telling you now. Once you learn law of India, you learn any tax from any country. It is that simple. That is so complicated in India. But now service tax is gone, isn't it? Now service tax as such is gone. We are charging only a what? GST as such. Got it till here? Yeah, so it is making a little bit of life easier, at least for restaurants when we are charging service tax also, then VAT also, and then it was very complicated. Now, those restaurants where there is no alcohol, they only have to charge GST. Simple. That is that one single tax now as such. Done till here? Now you also imagine the same. Now again you talk. Now you try to think from businessman point of view. Businessman, the restaurant owner. There is something known as audit. Okay, or you can say scrutiny. Okay, scrutiny. Do you understand meaning of the word scrutiny? Scrutiny or scrutinize.
Analyze.
Mismatch.
Scrutinize. No, it is to verify or to check. You can write down all these words if you don't know. Okay, not analyze. It is to verify or to check. In income tax or even in GST, all the taxpayers or can say people, they are obviously afraid of this word scrutiny, because technically we don't directly call it as audit, we call it as scrutiny. That means department people are coming at your home. Home means you're looking. I'm not talking of raid. They'll come and check. They can come and check, that is different, or they can ask you to submit documents and then they are going to check at their own department, whatever it is. But they are going to verify basically. They're going to verify. Now what used to happen in your earlier times? The same bill of a restaurant, let us say, there was VAT component also on it. There was service tax component also over it, isn't it? Now the restaurant is doing only one single business, hi Anna, isn't it? But here the same invoice used to be checked by two different departments. VAT people also want, VAT is levied properly or not. Service tax also they want to check whether service tax is levied or not. Double headache. Then VAT returns separately. Returns you have not heard of obviously, but reporting to VAT department separate. Reporting to service tax department separate. So basically dealing with 2-3 departments, again headache. Income tax department is completely separate only. So you can imagine the headache of the tax professional also as well as your businessman also. Are you understanding till here? So that is very it was a kind of a pathetic situation. ये क्या हो रहा है इसको? We were here. So direct and indirect understood बच्चों, clear till here? What will be your examples of indirect taxes?
GST.
Okay, and still some of them which were there earlier also, excise, service tax, customs, all these are your examples of indirect taxes, right? Check, pay attention now. This is a little bit old budget, 1920. But rupee comes from, means what? Again, pie chart. Remember pie chart? Now enter all the components, whichever we can think of. You are showing that in a pie chart, like this example. I'm not dividing the pie chart, or we are not making sectors, but understand. That means, pay attention. If the government of India is earning 1 rupee, that 1 rupee is coming from where? Or as a percentage. If government of India, whatever amount they are getting, as a percentage they are getting from where all? Sources of income for the government. Understood? Check. Borrowings and liabilities. Government is spending or earning? Rupee comes from, check, and rupee goes to, which is income, left or right? Left hand side is the income of the government, no? Revenue. Okay? And this is your expenditure. Are you understanding till here? Yes, till here? Check. Let us first check the expenditure. That is not actually part of our syllabus or nothing to be seen. But check. Out of 100% whatever government is spending, out of that, for example, 9% is going in defense. That piece for paisa. If 1 rupee is earned by the government, that 9 paisa or 9% is going in defense. 18% is going in interest payments. That means the government would have taken some loans, borrowings, and based on that, they paying the interest. That is the expenditure of the government. Then some central sector schemes, central government schemes, that expenditure 13%. Centrally sponsored schemes, something 9%. Other expenditures 8%. Pensions to the retired people of government of India's employees 5%. States share of taxes and duties, they have to go hand in hand. So even center gives some fund to center gives some funds to states 23%. Another something subsidies check, how much? 8%. And then some finance commission, other transfer, whatever it is, 7%. Clear till here? These are the expenditures of the government for the financial year 1920 or plan, whatever it is. Clear? But mainly from our point of view, all the revenue, we are discussing revenue, we are interested in income side. Isn't it? Are you understanding? Now check from government's point of view. Corporation tax, that is taxes paid by the companies. 21% from companies. There are what thousands of companies in India, but all of them combined, obviously listed company, big companies, all of that, all the tax which the government is earning, or from that, whatever income government is earning, 21% is by corporates. Taxes given by the companies, right? Then income tax based on only income, other individuals and businesses, okay, 16%. Then customs, that means on import, whenever there is import from outside India, you are levying what? Customs on that. That is what? 4%. Then earlier what you still have? Excise. How much? 8%. You will see excise also over here and GST also over here. That concept will come when you will do an excise, when you come in GST. Because as of today, excise is still there. It is not completely replaced. Okay. VAT is still there. It is not completely replaced. 19% by GST. Correct? Then you have other incomes, non-tax revenue, non-debt capital receipts, and other borrowings and liabilities, whatever income they would have earned. But mainly check over here. We are concerned with what? Take on a calculator. 21 plus 16 plus 4 plus 8 plus 19. 68. I gave it almost round figure 70%. 68, or you can say 2/3. 1/3, no, 2/3. 2/3, sorry. 2/3. Or you can say close to 70%. Entire income of the government of India, or from that 70% is coming from what? Taxes. Isn't it? Understand it, Leo? Clear or not? So it is an important department or concept or not for the government of India, or for entire all people of India. If there are no taxes, how can you run such a big country? You know? So that kind of income the government is earning. Yeah, let's go ahead, everybody. So before even we start, what is income tax? What is this? What is that? How many laws are there? How many sections are there? This and that. First, you have to understand overall concept of tax. What is tax, and why it is so important? Okay. Check. Overall, if I compare now this situation with rest of the countries, check. India has a very lower income tax. Income tax I'm talking about, okay? But no social security. Now, what is social security? Have you heard of that anyway? Anything you can think of? Benefits as such given by the government. That means there are government, you can say, sponsored schools, hospitals, where you don't have to pay much. This happens in other countries, not in India. That you approach any school, you take admission. You approach any government hospital, your work is done. No insurance, nothing. They have that kind of systems over there. So they have higher taxes in developed countries, but they're getting that service also. It is not like it is like our public hospitals, or like it is like our public schools. It is premium or posh, maintained also like that. Their staff, they are paid that kind of salary also. Only good quality teachers are only there. And this education is also kind of free for them, for the residents or citizens of that particular area. They can go in the local area, any school, and it is public school. They can go in local area, any public hospital, and they get the services for free. Because again, obviously taxes are also high. Over here, do we have that? No, obviously not. If at all you don't want to get yourself admitted in a public hospital, then kind of your entire life savings can go. Again, education is even basic education is still so costly when you're doing from private also, for that matter. Because there is obviously a huge difference between public schools and private schools still. So India doesn't have that social kind of security, that the basics are kind of taken care of. Even here in India, we don't have any kind of unemployment allowance. Have you heard of that? Unemployment allowance. That means in certain countries, if you are qualified, if you are of a particular age, but still if you are not able to find the jobs, then our government is going to give you some kind of allowance, isn't it? That doesn't again happen in this. Still we don't have it over here, isn't it? So India, now again pay attention, this is just a round figures. India has almost how much? 30% of income tax rate. Again, this is a round figure. China, higher. Again, we call it as developing country, almost our biggest competitor. Germany, developed but still 45. Good services. They have good services. Then Japan, almost 50, and Sweden, almost 60%. Now imagine your entire, that cube I was telling you, 10 cubes of chocolate you have. 60%. 6 out of 10, 6 is almost gone to the government only. You earn 10, 6 are gone. And your babu gave you what 10 cubes of chocolate and 6 is gone to someone else only. Mother and father have taken it compulsory. है ना? क्या बात है ना? Japan is taking half of it, right? India is taking only 3 out of 10. I understand till here. Clear? है? So we have a comparatively a better tax regime, and that is why we are also welcoming country. Na? That you come and do business in India, we are going to charge you only what 30%. If you go to Japan, they are going to charge you what 50%. So countries, other countries, those who want to invest, they'll say, okay, India is much better, no? I understand it till here. Got it? When we'll do actual taxes, we'll see even little bit lower also rates of tax from that. Then check. Highest personal income tax is who? Rates across the BRICS. BRICS nations, you know?
Yes.
Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, right? Yes. So among these again, comparable countries, no? That is what we say, comparable countries. Then again, when you have in South India, we have what that South Indian is South India, South Asia countries, SAARC, we call it SAARC, 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 है ना? And these countries, even they are from whatever nations, I mean, through the world, but they are on a equal level almost. Okay, I don't know why Russia is coming into picture, but still, Russia is a direct competition of USA. That is different. But whatever, it is a kind of a group. They want to keep USA away from it. Whatever. अपने को क्या है ना? Check. China, I told you almost how much बच्चों 45. Russia, sorry, South Africa is almost 40%. India is close to 30%, right? 30%, yes or no? Brazil is a little bit lesser than that, maybe 28% something. And Russia is, I think, almost 12% or 15%, whatever it is. So world average is what? World average of tax rates, 29.6%. And that is what we are following. We are neither ahead or neither low than the world average. Are you understanding? There are obviously some countries where there is 0% tax rates are also there. Okay. Check again some other highest individual income tax rates. Individual, that means people like you and me earning income. For that, what is the tax rates? Check over here. Sweden, how much you see? Where is Sweden? Europe. No? Switzerland, Sweden is same only, no? They're different countries, no? Pakka, no? So Switzerland is there or not? I don't see over here. Okay. Denmark, Finland, these are all your European. Zimbabwe has so much high, bapre. Japan, I told you 50% almost. Austria, not Australia, it is Austria, again Europe. All these are your European countries. Israel also so much. And Slovenia, Curacao. Curacao to apna drink tha na, that was a blue kind of, you have that. Blue Curacao, something is there, you can go and check. Ireland was not, that is your personal income tax, but this is individual. For corporate it is very, very low. For company it is very, very low. India ki tarah India aata hi nahi, and obviously we are talking of top with highest tax rates. China was what? 45. And India is again round figure 30%. Right till here? Yeah. So basically you can compare, isn't it? So now pay attention. If the tax rate is also high, what do you think should also be better? The services from that community. I mean, there should be no other, even one single rupee on your public spending. Nothing else. Now, whatever you want to buy clothes or eat food in the restaurant, only that can be the expenditure. Or whatever entertainment. Apart from that, what is necessary, like let us say water supply and whatever roads and all that, other taxes should not be there, ideally speaking. Hai na? Right till here? One of the very important factors, but to pay attention. What kind of tax amount the government should collect, or what kind of tax rate the government should have. Okay, that can be compared with the GDP of the country. GDP, you understand? Whatever production the government, whatever production the country is doing. Compared to that, yeah, how much, pay attention, how much tax they are collecting. Are you understanding? Again, it is a ratio. Now see, now whichever countries, you talk about USA. USA is going to have good, high GDP. Tell me.
But sir, this tax is the entire tax.
Entire tax.
Not individual tax.
No, all taxes. That means overall, what is the income of the government? So they are trying to better and better. That means common, now pay attention, common sense. What will tell you what is the common sense? If GDP is high, it means what? Production of goods and services is high. That means, does it impact income of the country? Tell me this. What do you think? Are you understanding what I am comparing?
Yes.
If there is a person sitting idle, he is doing nothing, no GDP, zero, will he have income? Nothing, no. As such, he will have nothing. He is doing nothing, no. He is contributing nothing. But if the country as such, or people at large, whatever, country is by people only. If the country is having very good GDP, that means they are producing lots of goods and services for what? Only for self-consumption? No, they are selling it. No. That means there is obviously what? Income. There has to be kind of what? Income. Are you understanding till here? Clear or not? So if there is a high GDP in a country, it should reflect in what? High income. And obviously if high income, then what? High tax, also high tax collection, or you can say revenue. Understood or not? So this is a very important indicator for the government also, that our GDP is increasing. So overall tax collection should also increase. If you see this gap increasing between GDP is increasing but tax is not increasing, that means there is some kind of leakage over there, or there is some kind of problem over there which they are unable to tap. There is some sector, unregularized sector, which the government is unable to tap. That means collect taxes from that. Are you understanding clear? So that is again a good, you can say, eye opener for the government. Got it? Yes? Check. So again, for those BRICS nation, etc., we are trying to compare what is the GDP of that country compared with the tax collection of that country only. Are you understanding or no? Yes? Now check. For example, what I was saying, Brazil. If the tax rate as a percentage of GDP, check now. We are discussing what? On the left hand side, y-axis, what do you have? Percentage of GDP. That means how much the Brazil is able to recover taxes or revenue compared to its GDP. If GDP obviously is 100, and out of that, compared to the GDP, they are able to recover almost 40%. Correct? Okay, tell you. Check about others. Russia also almost over there, 36, 38, whatever it is. USA also just below 30. World average is 22%. India is almost reaching that, 18% something. And then China is also a little bit almost equal par with India, almost, right? This is an indicator. You will see this word, pay attention, tax to GDP ratio in budget speech. Are you understanding the importance of budget speech now? So we are just not talking about just syllabus. How the government also plans and they decide what taxes should be there, how much taxes should be collected, on what it should be collected and what should be exempted. Again, this is one of the important indicators. The government is seeing, or it will be under tension if GDP is increasing but the tax collection is not increasing. Understand? So these points are highlighted even in budget speech. Got it? I think that is the same thing again repeated. It has a very low tax to GDP ratio. Okay? Yeah? Okay, Leo? So because of that, we are unable to go for capital investment, or you can say capital expenditure. India is unable to expand as such because that kind of collection is not done. Even if you now pay attention, let me ask you whether agriculture is included in GDP. What do you think? All sums of all goods and services produced. Agriculture is produced. What do you think? India was or is an agrarian, what we call agrarian, no? Agricultural society. It is still?
Yes.
I don't know about your economics right now syllabus, but in economics, what have you learned? Agriculture as the sector is a contributor in GDP?
Yes. Major contribution.
That is what I'm asking you. पक्का ऐसे ठोक देगा, है ना? अच्छा, कुछ होगा तो Google नहीं. Don't Google, Baba. Don't Google. I'm just asking your knowledge, no? Agriculture is a good contribution. I mean, gives a significant contribution in GDP.
Yes.
If I talk about 50 years back, agriculture, if I'm not wrong, it was 60-70% of the entire GDP of India. 60-70. Obviously, other fields and sectors are evolved. They have expanded, and you will see little bit is even the agricultural sector is coming down compared to other industries as a contributor to the GDP, isn't it? So, but it is agriculture also still a significant, you can say, making contribution in the GDP. Now you'll be surprised, or you might be knowing also maybe. Have you seen any farmer paying taxes?
No.
Why?
They are exempted from tax.
Because there is no tax only on agriculture, isn't it? Are you understanding? I mean, obviously you may not be knowing this, but there is no tax only. So significant contributor in GDP is exempted. So from where will collect taxes? Are you understanding? So even if GDP looks good, but the taxes are still lower. So we have to obviously also focus on other avenues. Now again, you're thinking from government's point of view. From where else can we make lots of taxes? Are you understanding here? So you don't have to. You're not a bureaucrat or you're not sitting in government department. So don't take tension. How will we increase taxes? Okay. But I'm just telling you the point of views of different people involved now. You as a professional, then your client as a businessman, then government. So you have to think from everybody's point of view, just for the sake of understanding of the subject. Got it? There is so much of to learn and understand. Got it? This link will not work right now. But let us try it actually. Let us try it. This link. Still have time. I think I discussed with you. Apple Inc. Yeah, Apple Incorporated. Yes or no? Yes. Let me just go through this link. I will show you. Okay, whatever it is, let us see what is happening over here. Okay, can we open a tab over here? Hold on, no? I'm just giving you the link directly is not working, but ठीक है.
Passport?
नहीं हो गया. Open link, हाँ, like that. Okay, done. It is loading, no? It is loading. I just it's a very big data, no? It's taking time. Yeah, now I can do it. Okay. Check on your screen now. Are you able to see? Yeah. Individual tax rates in from 2011 to 2012. Okay. Obviously, there are many countries over here. Are you able to see now? Yes. No. Africa again. Africa is a big continent we are talking about now. So all the countries in Africa on an average is 26%. America again as a continent. Can you see? In 2011, 31%. And the latest one, how much? Africa is how much? 31. And America is still almost similar over here, 32.25. Yes or no?
Yes.
Can you check that now? Yeah. Asia on an average, again, so many countries in Asia, 27.52 in 2011. We're still almost there only, 28.67, right? So on an average as such, it is not increased that much. So global average as of today is 31.30. We're talking about which kind of tax rates? Company or individual?
Individual.
Individual tax rates, okay? Income tax rates, fine?
EU and Europe.
Euro, EU is Euro. Union, EU.
Europe Union.
European Union. Europe Union, it is European Union, no? European, no? Ah, EU.
Yeah, we are using Europe differently. Europe and EU.
Russia doesn't come in EU, or Russia comes, no?
Union is different and Europe continent is different.
हाँ, so some countries will not be in EU, ना? Like Brexit तुम्हारा हो गया अभी Brexit. UK is not part of now Union, no? So there will be some other countries who are not part of the Union. Correct, no? Like Greece is part of Europe, no? What do we call it? Greece,
Yes.
part of Europe, but I'm not sure it is part of EU or not. I think it is not.
Switzerland also.
Even not, na? Even Switzerland not. So they will be that different. Now check some other. Afghanistan. You can check the rates quickly. I'm just showing you for the sake of comparison. How much? 20%. You can check the latest one. Check this. Anguilla. This looks like your Goan cities, no? Antigua and Barbuda. Okay, these are islands, I think. Antigua and Barbuda is your islands. Check.
0%.
No income tax. Let's go there, no? है ना? Let's go there. Best है ना? अरे यार. हाँ. अरे तो था ना, इसको क्या प्रॉब्लम है? I should make something अच्छा. ठीक है. हाँ?
बरोबर में पहुंचने ही चले
पूरा ऐसे पीछे से जाएंगे हम लोग अटलांटिक से नहीं पैसिफिक से जाएंगे
ठीक है. फिर से चला गया ना. ठीक है, that is okay. But understood a little bit लियो. 0% भी है. हाँ?
0% भी होता है.
0% भी होता है. आयरलैंड का नहीं देखा ना अपन. आयरलैंड का इंडिविजुअल का ज़्यादा है, पर है ना? इट्स हायर इन इंडिविजुअल. इट इज क्वाइट हाई.
टॉप 25 में था
हाँ, it was turned top. This Cayman Island, I'll show you again. I'll download a page only actually, and then I'll show you again. Open. We'll do that in the next lecture. But again, Cayman Islands, there are so many small countries. They are countries only. They are islands, but countries. Again, tax rate is nil. They are like very much investor friendly. You just come. It is a small, obviously islands, and there are small islands. There are many lawyers and corporate firms, professionals, and their address as such. I mean, for the sake of example, I mean, in this, let us say, commercial building. Imagine there are tens of thousands of companies incorporated. That much of offices will also not be available. Okay, I mean, for that example, wherever that law firms are there in these islands, law firms, or you can say professionals in this islands or countries, their registered address or office is used as address for the hundreds and thousands of companies as their registered office. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Let us say there is some ABC and firm. I'm just giving a name. ABC and company or whatever firm, lawyers. Okay, law firm. Their address is used as registered office address for like hundreds and thousands of companies. Their own office address that is used. And actually, is there any office? No, it is on paper. Why on paper only? Because that laws of these countries are very simple. No, very relaxing. You don't have to have a physical, tangible office. Somebody's office, you can use it as your office also. That's it. It is on paper company. There are certain countries, Okay, we will be learning obviously Companies Act also, no? Companies Act, obviously you know little bit basics also. There is something known as share certificate. Now tell me, bachcho, regularly in normal situations, share certificate is a document of title or document showing title.
Document showing title.
What do you think, Anurag? Is it document of title or document showing title, and what is the difference?
Showing.
It is document of just showing title. Okay, that means what? Whoever's name is mentioned in that certificate is the owner. And document of title means what? Whoever is holding that document is the owner. Again, for the sake of example, currency note, your notes. It is document showing title or document of title? It is document of title. Whoever will own it or keep it, it is the owner. Your local train ticket, not your long journey tickets, local train tickets. It is what? Document of title or document showing title? Document of title. जिसके हाथ में whoever has local ticket, he is the owner of it. Simple, isn't it? But other things, even if they go in someone else's hand, it is not their ownership. That example is what? In a case, share certificate. Whoever's name is mentioned on that share certificate, he is the owner of those shares. Even if he loses it, destroys it, or gives it to someone else, will the other person become owner? No. Why? Because of Companies Act only, na? The law is like that. But Companies Act of certain countries is like that. Even share certificate, sorry, not this. Even share certificate can be, bachcho, based on document of title. That is a bearer share certificate. Bearer share certificate. Bearer share certificate. A person, imagine, I am the promoter of the company, I am holding 99% shares. And it is in a locker. Literally, they have to be in locker only. And if I give it to this person, now he is the owner of the company. And that actually happens in some countries. Okay? That is also why? Because they made it very easy in that country. Do you come and invest? We'll protect you completely. So all these people, illegal money, drug lords, all of that, all your black money kind of money, they are invested in this kind of countries only. Because they are, yes, inviting. They are very much friendly. Are you understanding here? Pablo Escobar and all of that. Correct. Yes. Got it? क्या हो गया? हाँ? All those, yeah, series, yeah. We'll go to last part for today, yeah. Law as such has act and rules. That is also what we are going to learn in your Companies Act as well. The corporate and other laws paper 2 also we are going to learn there. Okay. So law has act and rules. It means what? Law has both these parts. One is act, another is rule. Okay. Now when I was a student, I didn't know much difference between act and rule as such. When I actually started my articleship, then at that time I saw there are two books, two separate books as such. One is for act, another is for rules. Okay. Now, we'll discuss a little bit of Bare Act. Have you discussed the word Bare Act?
Yes,
As it is.
Bare Act. That means the law passed as it is. The law passed by the parliament as it is. That law, before the act becomes act, it is what actually bill. That is what we will discuss later on. Okay? Bill. But that bill, when it is discussed, when it is showed in the parliament, no, they are discussed by both the houses and approved. They are basically approving the document, isn't it? Yes or no? So the act passed, the bill passed as it is, that is your act. For that you have again obviously one book as such, or you can say publication. Let us say if I have printed on some pages, that is, it becomes an act, or you can say let us say book, magazine. Understood earlier? And there is one more, you can say magazine or book, whatever you want to call it. That is your rules. Are you understand till here? So act, usually most of the acts, most of the law as such, they have the act as such as well as the rules. Right till here? So to understand importance of both of them and difference between act and rule. Clear? I have not bought the books also with me, but you can imagine this kind of size of book only for act and almost that kind of size only for rules. And you have to obviously use them parallelly. Understood till here? Okay? So let us check. It's a very big article. We have in our syllabus what we have, Income Tax Act 1961, and similarly you have Income Tax Rules 1962. Even in Companies Act we are going to see the same thing. Companies Act as well as Companies Rules, and they go hand in hand. That means the rules in fact are going to help what? The Act. The rules are going to help the Act. Now you understand till here? What is the purpose of rules, bachcho? It is to help or supplement the Act. Okay, help, or you can say supplement the Act. Got it till here? Yes? Now, why the new rules are required? Now check, pay attention, I'll give you the example. The Act always talks about the what part. What is allowed, what is not allowed, what is required to be done. Okay? The rules tell you the how part. How to actually execute it. Are you understanding? You have to clear CA intermediate. This is the what part. How to actually pass it. What are the plans? What is the strategy? What do you have to study? From where? That is the rules part. Income Tax Act is going to tell you that you have to file income tax return. Example, okay? Income Tax Act is going to tell you have to file income tax return. You have to apply for PAN. This is only what Income Tax Act says. How to actually file the income tax return? In which format? Which form is required to file your permanent account number PAN? All that is given in what? Rules. I understand it here. Companies Act will tell you that you can incorporate a company. How to actually incorporate all of that is given in your rules. All the formats they are given in rules. I understand till here. So rules are going to help or supplement the Act. Got it till here? Now check. So application for PAN card. The law says means Act says that you should apply for PAN. There are some situations where person has to compulsorily take the PAN. Okay? But what? The rules is going to tell you what is the form number, where to go, where to apply, what is required, document of your identification, address, what will be allowed, where you have to go and apply, how much fees, that is all decided by rules. Understand here? That all part cannot be discussed in Act. You cannot have one single thing for everything. So the main part is in Act and the helping part is in rules. Always keep that in mind. So let it be about income tax or company tax. You will have Act as well as rules. Not every Act has rules, but many of the Acts they do have rules. When it is, especially if it is about practical application. Okay. Then filing of income tax return, compulsory you have to do at times. Income Tax Act will tell you. Again, I am saying the same thing. The format for filing income tax return and all the rest remaining things are given in the rules only. Again, okay, tell you. So who do you think is more flexible? The Act is more flexible or the rules are more flexible? The rules are more flexible. And what is the work of the rule, bachcho? What is the work of the rule? To apply, to execute the Act part practically. Understood here? So check. I'll give you a very nice also example. Depreciation, your favorite concept of accounts. You will be under shock now, as of today, that even income tax has separate depreciations. Separate, you had how many? 8-10 methods? How many you had? We don't have 8-10 methods, but we have different concept only in income tax. Okay? That different types of depreciation methods which you have learned in accounts. Those methods are coming from which law? There has to be base of everything you are doing. Accounting standards, yes. Is it a law? Yes, accounting standards are particularly given in section 133 of your Companies Act. And again, Companies Act is also going to tell you about depreciation. All these schedules are also given in Companies Act. But Companies Act is separate, Income Tax Act is separate. Depreciation is obviously also then separate. Are you understanding clear? Income tax government will say what act we have passed? Income tax. We will do as per our own logic. We don't agree with Companies Act. And income tax will say what? We don't have only companies to handle, no. We have so many other businesses, people and partnerships, HUF, individuals to handle. So we are going to create our own separate set of depreciation rules and regulations. That is given hardly, you will be amazed to understand, hardly one single sentence or lines is given about depreciation in the Act. Section 32. It doesn't go into detail. The details are given in the rules, no. Income tax rules. Depreciation rates on what kind of assets, for how long, all that is given in your income tax rules separately. A separate schedule is given for that. Again, depending on the type of the asset. All these interesting things we are going to learn in income tax. Asset. Different types of asset. Cash, no, not cash. Got it till here, everybody? Yes? So all that is given in here. So you have volume 1 over. You have volume 1, no? You have income tax what? Volume 1. In that you will have that chapter of PGBP, profits gains. Over there you will see depreciation. Profits and gains of business and profession. 7, no? Over there you will see. That I think that's one page. I think that is the chapter going on, no?
No, 6 chapter.
Acha. Started, no? After 4-5 pages, check out. I think the second or third page. Is there a big table over there?
Is that?
Right? All that we are going to learn separate on separate assets. Okay, block of assets, different categories of assets.
अच्छा, ये rate भी हमें याद आता है इसमें?
Obviously, couple of assets only on that.
मतलब बाहर करना है इसका।
हो जाएगा, don't worry, it will obviously be over. Anyways, done. Chalo, come back. Okay. So the act says only 1-2 lines on depreciation as such. But all that story which you are learning, entire 1 or 1.5 page of table of depreciation rates for different assets, all that is given in your
rules.
Okay? Yeah. Now please pay attention. Act. There will always be amendment every year in the Act, Income Tax Act. And that amendments are discussed in the budget. Okay? That is the importance of budget. The budget is not just talking about what we are going to do in the financial year. It mainly also talks about the changes in the law of income tax. Then you have GST, whatever it is. Understood? You have mainly income tax. So amendment is done every year on the budget day. Right now it is obviously happening in February, correct? By Parliament. That is discussed in your Parliament. Yes or no? Clear? And again, the Bachcho Act, your Income Tax Act is going to have sections, subsections, clauses, subclauses, and all of that. That is what also we are going to learn in your law also. In law also, okay? Explanations, etc. are given in your Income Tax Act. It currently has what? 298 sections in your income tax, which we don't have to do all of them. Obviously not. We have limited kind of sections, but you can say still almost, yeah. We reach 1/3, yeah, between 1/3 to half we reach that kind of sections or that size. That is the size of your syllabus, right? Okay. But in rules also, what is rules about? It will tell you about the how to execute. Understood here? Yes or no? How to execute. The rules will have sub rules and lots of forms. Forms, that means formats. Yes. Now we cannot give all the formats in the act itself. That's why we are taking help of your income tax rules. Again, same example. PAN. You have form 49A and 49AA and all of that. Yes. Again, that format is given in income tax rules. Understood here? Your ITR, income tax returns. Okay, income tax returns. Again, that format is given in your rules only. Understood here? It is not given in the act. Act just says simply is a person has to file income tax return by this date. Finish. 1 page, 2 page, 5 page, 10 page. How much big is the form or format? That is given in your income tax rules. Got it here? Yes. That's why you cannot just study only act. You cannot just study only rules. How to apply the act, that is given in the practically, that is given in the rules. Yes. Then the forms and the process to apply for PAN card given in where? Rules. The forms, details to be filled for income tax returns, they are given where? In the rules. We have lots of forms actually. Over here we say what? ITR, that is income tax returns. They are given ITR 1 to up to ITR 7. That depends. That also changes from year to year. Okay, tell here everybody. Yeah. Depreciation rates are also given in the rules. See, now you might understand a little bit difference. Then the notes which we use, maybe your ICS study material or your teacher notes, we are obviously combining it and making it easier for you. You are not learning from bare act, otherwise you will be dead. It is next to impossible to learn from the bare act or bare law as it is. Okay, so these are the notes which are going to help you. But you should know the notes are coming from where? The source from that. The source of that. Understood here? Yeah? And the rules, bachcho, are given by CBDT every year. Okay, now pay attention. You will understand a little bit of difference between both of them now. Now tell me, act. Who has the authority or power to give that act? Parliament. Yeah, Parliament is going to do that. And Parliament is not going to check on day-to-day basis what is happening or not is happening in the act, whether it's being properly being applied, executed or not. Okay. For the execution, who we have? Rules. Are you understanding till here? Okay. We have rules. We have income tax department. I completely agree. But the proper application of these rules, what should be there or should not be there in the rules, that authority Parliament cannot keep on checking on regular basis. So they have delegated that authority. Delegated, you understand? Delegation means giving that authority to someone else. So they have given this authority to CBDT. That full form and all I'll tell you. Obviously, it is Central Board of Direct Taxes. It's a board. Just like you have your BCCI, no? BCCI, you have a cricket board, no? Cricket body. Similarly, for income tax, you have what? CBDT. What did I tell you? Income tax, you have CBDT. The rules, pay attention now, are framed or made or changed by CBDT. Understood? Now, if it is the authority is given to CBDT, they don't have to go back again and again and again to the Parliament to make the changes. That is the reason rules are a little bit easier to make changes there. But if at all you have to make changes in the Act, what you have to do? You have to, and Parliament is that easy or what? Chalo, sabko call everybody, let's have a meeting and change the Act. It is not that easy. I understand. That is the reason Act usually changes only once in a year. But rules mainly can change anywhere in between as well. Okay. What I tell you? Yeah. I'll give you one of the examples. In ITR, that is income tax returns. Who said that you have to file income tax returns? The Act said. And now pay attention. Our financial year gets over on what? 31st March. Common sense, isn't it? I'm just giving you again a very simple example. Okay, let us say financial year 2019-20 I'm talking about. So the financial year got over on 31st March 2020. Okay, I'm just giving you a normal example. And the law said that you have to file income tax return by 31st July. Example, this is again an example. For the financial year 1920. So once the financial year is over, you will file the income tax return by 31st July 2020. Okay, I understand till here. For the financial year 1920, common sense, you will understand your income as on 1st April 2019 or 31st March 20 for the financial year 1920. When will you understand what is your income? Once the year is over, only then you will understand, no, what is your income, isn't it? So only when you know the income, only then you can file income tax return. So obviously you will file income tax return after the financial year. Are you understanding the year? So the government said, okay, you have a couple of months. How much? April, May, June and July. You have 4 months to finalize whatever it is and then file by 31st July. That is what simply is said what in Income Tax Act. Yes or no? But can I file income tax return on my hand, on my tab, just like that? Can I prepare on my just page and submit it to the income tax department? No. For that I am dependent on what? Income tax return. I am dependent on income tax return format. Because that format is given by who? CBDT. I understand till here. And that was the problem, that once the financial year was over on 31st March, many times it used to happen that as on 1st April 2020, that means immediately the next day, the income tax return formats itself were not available. Why? Because who was very lazy? CBDT was lazy. And then government department used to, or you can say income tax department used to say, this tax professionals are not filing only income tax returns in time. Then we are like, you are not giving us also in formats also in time. They used to give by 15th April or end of April. Then we get very less time to adjust, and we can say that time, that month is completely wasted only, So that rules and all of that formats we are dependent on CBDT. Since last couple of 2-3 years only now they are issuing the formats just even before 31st March. So they are also trying to be very much now technologically, you can say, updated and advanced. Understood here? Yes. So rules will do what, bacho? It will help you to, yes, execute the act. Yes. So both of them are very important. Who? The act and the rules. Both of them are important. They are like husband and wife. They will work and complement each other. None of them can work without each other. Yes, I know you are missing. Yes, so they are what? With each other. Act as well as rules. Just act you cannot execute, and just rules is nothing without the act. And yes, one thing I can say that, but rules is subordinate to act. Rules is what? Subordinate to act. You understand meaning of the word subordinate? Subordinate means what? जूनियर, जस्ट लाइक योर यंगर ब्रदर और सिस्टर, है ना.
लॉ है इसलिए मतलब means
आई एम राइटिंग हियर ना. सबऑर्डिनेट यू कैन राइट डाउन इन द नोटबुक्स. सबऑर्डिनेट मीans don't write directly junior, but you can say junior is okay for the sake of understanding. You can say inferior, let us say, or the act is superior, you can say. Understood? So subordinate means junior. Just like in your articleship, first day you will be junior, subordinate to somebody. You will be reporting to somebody, or you will be working under someone else. And second or third year you will become senior. Then you start bullying the juniors. है ना? Yes or no? So rule cannot override the act. Understood, Leo? Rule cannot override the act. Got it, Leo? Rule is always junior to the act, because act was made by the parliament. That is the law of the land, you can say. Rules is only to supplement or help the act. Got it? Next time we'll take the discussion point ahead. ठीक है? चलेगा? Enough for today. See you in next lecture.